Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to podcast because this topic that I'm about to talk about is one of my, if not my very favorite topic to talk about like all the time. Um, so yeah, um, the topic is love in your 20s. And I have a lot to say about it. I have a lot to say about love in general, but obviously I can only speak to my experience, and I'm only 22. So, and I've been in love twice. Once in my 20s and once as an adolescent. But anyways, the reason why I've been thinking or wanted to talk about love today is because as I'm like starting my professional career, building my digital marketing portfolio. By the way, if you haven't bought from Donu Essential Skincare, please do so at donuessentials.com. I have been editing that site, and I will be launching their social media. It's my mom's skincare brand, by the way. In 2026, so stay tuned. But as I have been kind of working on that in my portfolio, and also kind of influencing on the side, I work my job as bev carding. I do all of this to, gain independence and to start my life, whatever that means, and I'm trying to figure it out. And the same theme keeps coming up again, which is love. And I have a very long history of love, and I'll go over that in a second, but it introduced this dilemma that I have, because I'm like, in my 20s, I feel like I should be prioritizing finding what I want most, right? And right now, what I can think of off the top of my head, what I want most is independence, freedom to travel and to do things that I want, which is be with family and friends. Those are the two things that I want. And to achieve that, I have to gain professional success, which is then financial success, right? I think that's I think that's like most people's goals, just the freedom to do what they want. And for me, that's traveling and living on my own. But even in between the thoughts of all that, I still think about love. And like I was saying, the dilemma is, do I lock in and just focus on career and just put that same energy into loving myself? The cliches, focus on yourself, love yourself, blah, blah, blah. Or should I actively try to get in a relationship? Number one, actively trying to, most of the time I would say, doesn't really work. Most things kind of happen organically, at least the best ones do, right? But I desire it, so I yearn for it. I love love. This is why I love talking about love. I love love. I love being in love. I love everything about it. But I also, just as much as that, where the dilemma comes up again, is I also love doing whatever I want. I love feeling free. And I think that's my issue is when I'm in love, and this is like a personal cap I put on myself, or like maybe a little bit influenced by whoever I'm with, is like I don't feel all the way free. And that's nothing attaining to like getting with other people during the relationship. No, free as in like I can do whatever I want at any time that I want. I have no one to uphold any responsibilities to, as you kind of should in a relationship, right? Uphold some sort of transparency in what you're doing, what you're up to, and you'll probably want to, right? Like check in with your significant other, all that. But it is a little bit of an added task. You know what I'm saying? Like relationships are responsibility as well to maintain that relationship. And like that's a little bit much for all that I'm trying to do for myself right now, right? That's the dilemma that I'm having. And I don't know. It's nights like this where I'm alone and like thinking about love. I yearn for it, And I almost wish I just didn't yearn for it all in all and do a little thing called decentralizing men, I really, really wish that came more naturally to me. But since I could possibly remember, I've loved love. And I'm just going to give, before we like get into like the main topics, I'm just going to give a little bit of context, personal context about love for me. I was in a relationship from when I was 13 to 19. Beautiful first love relationship. It was an epic love, to say the least. Cringy, I know. But I'm sugarcoating a bit, but there's pretty much nothing I would change about my first relationship experience. We broke up mutually. We were definitely both, I think. No, for me, I know, but both in love the time that we broke up. And the reason why we broke up was just because we both wanted to experience college being fully free without any responsibility to each other. Just also, we had been together for 6 years, our entire adolescence, and figuring things out for ourselves, like who we truly are without each other. You know, it's important when you're a young adult. You're already trying to figure out so much for yourself. Like, it's hard to also incorporate someone else in your life while you're doing that. So we ended up mutually breaking up. However, I got into a relationship which, in hindsight, made no sense, because the whole reason why I broke up with my first love was because we both wanted to be alone to figure out life alone, you know. And then I ended up getting a relationship my junior year of college. By the way, the timeline, I was with my first love from when we were in literal beginning of 8th grade and then till the end of our freshman year in college. And then I got into another relationship that was about a year, my second love, I'd consider, my junior year of college. And that one is a bit more associated with toxicity. I personally, I will admit, first one to admit, I have extremely toxic traits. Yeah, I'm working through it. And I think that's why love is so complicated for me, because I have toxic traits that I know I need to evolve. And once I do that, I can view love, hopefully, in a more healthy way. And, like, not always feel like I, like, yearn for it all the time. Anyways. My second relationship, I was going through a really hard time of my life in general. Like, my circumstances were a little bit hard. I had a lot more responsibility in general, going to school, working, and just, like, figuring out who the fuck I was. I still didn't know. I feel like for most of your 20s, you probably don't really know exactly who you are. You know, it's revealed to you over time, is what I'm kind of like, whatever. But that time, I really didn't have a fucking grip on who I was. And so it was really easy for me to, and unfairly, you know, kind of place that responsibility onto who I was seeing. So anyways, that was my second love. I feel like I learned a lot about who I was with him. And I say that it was stupid, but I'll get into why it wasn't. And things don't happen by coincidence. Like, I needed to be in that relationship because I wouldn't know the things I know about myself to then be a better person if I didn't get into that relationship. Okay. So, before I even get into, like, advice that I have about love, I want to talk about, like, a definition of love, okay? I wrote down on my notes, like, to define love for the podcast, and I literally got stumped, okay? I'm just curious, like, what other people's definitions of love are, because I really don't have, like, a solid definition. I tried saying, like, maybe it's the desire to care for someone else deeply, and giving up certain freedoms for someone else. Like, that's what love is putting someone else alongside yourself, like, in terms of prioritizing. I don't know. I really don't know. Like I can't define and this is obviously trying to define like romantic love. Like, what does it mean to love someone? I think it's being willing to put someone's needs before yours, but also that does sound a little bit toxic, right? Like, you should be able to have your needs met to meet someone else's needs. Am I right? Like, I'm trying to psych this out, like psychology that one out, but like, I don't know. So I think I just need to develop a definition for that. I don't really have one. I'm just curious what other people's definitions of it is. To me, it's whether this is right or not. I don't think my definition of love is universally correct, and like probably shouldn't be. But the way that I've defined love and like moved through my life in terms of being in love has always been like self-sacrificing, like willing to sacrifice myself. So, in my feelings and my time, so that I can be with someone or show them love. My love languages are physical touch, quality time, all that. So for me, like, I reciprocate that. Like, for me, love is prioritizing someone, spending and wanting to spend time with them and wanting to like be around them, I guess. I don't know, bro. I feel like I'm confusing myself, but or wanting to meet like whatever their needs are. Yes? I don't know. I feel like I keep confusing myself. We'll put a pin in that one. Moving on though. I wanted to also talk about like the significance of love. Like, why do we literally fall in love? Like, I don't want to talk about the perspective of like an evolution perspective. Obviously, we fall in love to like, or not obviously. The evolution perspective or biological perspective would probably be we fall in love because we are trying to mate and procreate. But then that wouldn't explain our gay relationship. So I don't even think like the evolution perspective, boo. Anyways, I want to talk about the perspective of like a more maybe like perhaps a spiritual perspective or like a holistic perspective. Is that the right word? Because the things that I touch on, the notes that I have for the significance in love is more of like why we fall in love to contribute to others, like how that like ropes into each other. So anyways, I think we fall in love because, or the significance of falling in love is that, let me start over, sorry. I think that the significance of love is that we learn, therefore love teaches. When we fall in love, we learn different things like how to compromise. And let me just say, most people suck at compromising, but the more that you try to do it, obviously the better you get at it. And it's very important in life to know and be satisfied with your compromises. Knowing how to take into consideration someone else's needs or wants while also considering yours. That's a really fucking hard thing to do. That's what compromising is. And I think, again, the more you're in relationships, especially romantic relationships, the more you get to learn that. And when you learn things like compromise, that helps you in so many areas of your life, like literally society even. Like on a bigger scale, when you learn to do things and you learn it faster through romantic love because it's more intense. When you learn a lesson like compromise, you're able to compromise with friends, at work, with people, micro interactions. Like you're able to compromise in life, therefore being a better person to others, therefore making society and our world better. Like, does that make sense? Like, the significance to love is that it contributes to a more evolved you, teaches you, you know? And that's like, I think the significance of love is like you, in a weird way, you're like falling in love for like the benefit of not just yourself, but others. Like the more evolved you are, the better the world is. The better you are, the better the world is, period. You learn things like time management. I put that down. I think it's funny I put that down. I think it's because I have ADHD and I'm like, oh, yes, I'm learning. You know what I mean? I like don't know. I don't have any fucking concept of time. So it's cool when after a couple relationships, especially when the other significant other really like prioritizes time management, you also learn from them. Good thing. That's more of a mechanical learning. But I think another cool thing that love teaches is being able to view someone in a healthy way. You probably more likely after the relationship will be able to view them like realistically. Like when you're in love, it's really hard to like view someone exactly who they are. At least that's what I personally have trouble with. So I think that love can teach you how to, the more relationships you're in, the more you reflect after each relationship, or maybe even during, maybe you're that realistic, but the more you're able to know what you want, what's real, what's not. And like when you're able to see someone for who they are and you make that conclusion based on their actions and not how you feel, that contributes also to like overall a better you. You're able to see things more clearly. And the more you go through that, even if it's painful, the better off you are in the world. When you can see things clearly, I feel like it's just an amazing tool to have. Like, you know, being Delulu, it's a coping mechanism in a sense, you know? And like sometimes though, again, it's a really good tool to like be able to see things for who they are, for what they are, you know? And the more you get your heart broken, or the more, not even just that will really push the speed in which you want to realize what's real, what's not. But I feel like even let's say it's like a healthy relationship, that'll even help you realize if it's healthy and you kind of know it's healthy, what they do, this is what it looks like when someone is who they say they are by doing this. Does that make sense? And you get to realize that's what it takes to be this person. I don't know if I made any sense right there, but you learn that again because romantic love is more intense. You learn those lessons a little bit quicker. Does that make sense? So, and that's a really good tool to use. If not for society, at least for yourself and throughout life, you know? But again, I think I'm going to read you what I wrote here because I think it's pretty cool. My conclusion for the significance of love is significance to help evolve each other with love comes pain and sacrifice. And through that, push starts our healing and evolution, which causes us to ultimately learn and become hopefully a more kind, mature, and wiser person in the world. I feel like I said it in a more simple way there. Like, in a way, falling in love is healthy, even if it's painful. So I feel like, in a sense, falling in love is good for the world, even if it doesn't feel that way if you're brokenhearted. Anyways, overall, I wanted to give some points about love specifically in your 20s because it's more of a niche. Not everyone's in their 20s in love, you know what I'm saying? But just like some side notes, I guess, about that, like more comments about our generation, Gen Z. I feel like something that I've struggled with viewing love in our 20s is taking into consideration other people's opinions, like your homegirl, homeboy, or like people on social media. That is, I think, how do I say this? I think I have more of the viewpoint of like, it is very likely that what you want to do is what you're supposed to do in order to, like, someone telling you should do this, if you don't actually want to do that, you're probably not going to do it. Therefore, you're not going to learn. And some people, trying to word this in a more clear way, I guess I'm like the parent that's like, you're going to do what you want anyway, so do it. Hold respect for yourself and learn. Because like, I feel like most times when we know we're making a decision that's not like the best for us, we clearly haven't learned. Like, it's going to take you X amount of times until you learn, until you truly feel in your heart, oh, it's fucking time to move on. Your homegirl can't do that for you. Your homeboy can't do that for you. And people on social media can't do that for you. Only you can do that for you. It's only until you make that decision, right? So I think like for me, and I'm saying this as like also advice to myself, when I see people's opinions online about love, like little like quotes that I'll see on my TikTok of like people doing each other wrong, or like story times of like how men ain't shit and like all this stuff, it's really important to be able to decipher what is real for you versus other people. Like, you can obviously only experience your life, your love life. Only you're going to learn the lessons that were made out for you. So, like, I think trying to implement other people's opinions of love, it's cool to hear them out. Maybe it sparks something, it sparks an epiphany in you that's authentically yours. But changing what your behavior that you don't really want to because someone gave you advice, that's probably not going to help you, and it's probably not what's right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's better that if your way is unfortunately the hard way, that you do that, because that's kind of your brain and your body's way of telling you, again, from like a more spiritual sense, that's the only way that you're specifically going to learn, you know, unfortunately, through pain. And hey, this is me just talking, okay? So don't get mad at me. I don't want anybody's homegirl saying, why the fuck would you say that to her? I'm sorry. My fault. What I'm not trying to do is necessarily like encourage bad behavior, but what I'm trying to encourage is for people to live their life authentically. You're supposed to learn certain lessons certain ways. That's what I believe in. Sorry. But my biggest like piece of advice for love in your 20s is, especially if you don't have a developed opinion on love or like whatever, I feel like getting the fuck off social media until you understand that social media is not like, it's not your life. It's someone else's life that they're posting about. Like, you have to truly understand that. Then I think you can be on social media and just be like, haha, whatever they said, you know? But like, if you're impressionable about love or whatever, which most of us are impressionable. I feel like that's kind of like how we're built. The more you see something, the more you think it, you know? If you see something like, men ain't shit, my man's cheating on me, and I used to get a bunch of videos like that. And my best friend literally just told me how much like she's seen all those, and the algorithm picks, if you watch one cheating video, you get fucking 10. So all of a sudden now you're here thinking that everybody cheats, right? Hey, what do I know? But what I'm saying is, let's say that influences you when you have like social media like that, where it keeps showing you shit like that about love, like people suck, right? It makes you a little bit more cautious or avoidant when you're not usually like that. Okay, that's poisonous, bro. That you're not being you, and like, then you're not gonna learn how the universe kind of was gonna like set it out for you. I don't know. You're like delaying your learning, if that makes sense. So living based off the accord of other people's opinions, whether that's via social media or your homegirl, homeboy, you can't do that. If you're gonna make a dumbass decision, you have to make it because you're probably gonna go through something that leads you to an epiphany or a conclusion or a lesson, which is all a part of your evolution as a person. Sorry. That went on a little bit too long. Like, you guys get the gist of what I'm saying, right? Okay. I think my last piece of advice for love in your 20s, and again, like, this is solely just me. Like, I'm not trying to necessarily argue anything or anything like that. Like, these are just my thoughts based on my experiences. Take it or leave it. Okay. Anyways, I would say my biggest piece of advice is to allow things to organically happen. I think, like, and I'm guilty of this, like I just said. I yearn for love. I love love, and I want it so bad. But trying to fit someone who, for example, like, they peep a little bit of interest in you and you want to, like, fit them into your life because you want love so bad. Like, that's probably not, like, not good. Or, like, not, I don't know. Again, what the fuck do I know? But, like, I feel like when things happen organically, by that, like, maybe, like, you start talking to someone, or not talking to someone, but you chat with someone, I don't know, at a grocery store, and they're regular and so are you. And you talk with them again the next time you see them, and at the end. And it's like there's starting to be, like, a crush vibe. This is just, like, totally fictional, but, like, a crush vibe that goes on, and then they ask you to coffee. That's pretty organic, right? And let's say you end up being in some sort of relationship a month down the line, 2 months down the line. Okay, organic. But when you're trying to fit someone into your life, or, like, because you're yearning for love, like, again, you're going to do what you're going to do, and you'll learn that lesson quick. But I think allowing things to happen organically is always the best way. But that's also me coming from a perspective of, like, a spiritual universe perspective. Someone's going to come into your life organically, and it's going to be for a reason, to teach you something, or to teach you something. So, yeah, allowing things to happen organically, I think, is the best way. I think in your 20s too, like I said, a dilemma that I still probably don't have the conclusion to is, like, do I work on this? Do I fall in love? Can I do both? But I think allowing both of those things to happen organically is going to happen the way it should. Boom, I just came to a conclusion. Okay, everything to happen organically, okay? If I could figure out a way to just stop yearning for love, though, when I'm alone, that would be great. Like, how do people, like, decentralized men truly? How do you love yourself truly? That's another topic, another episode. But my last piece of advice is every emotion is necessary. And I'll use that to wrap this up. But how I said before, pain and suffering is necessary for you to heal, to then realize certain things about yourself, to then become a better person, and become a better person for yourself, how you live your life, and how you contribute to the world, honestly, to other people. Evolution is what it all comes down to. What we're all here for, And I think falling in love, or being in love, is a really good tool sometimes. A tool, if you want to view it that way, to becoming the person that you always wanted to be, or you're gonna be. And I think shying from love because of you're afraid to be in pain, I would really encourage you to try to understand that pain is worth it no matter what, even if the person sucks, but it's worth it for you, because pain is how we learn, unfortunately. But yeah, that's all I have to say right now about love. I'm sure, again, I love talking about love. I love love. But that's all I got to say for right now. But anyways, thank you for listening. If you listened this much, I love you. Even if you didn't listen this much, I love you so much. And I wish you guys everything. And even if you don't have romantic love right now, just know I love you so much. Okay. All right. Bye, guys. Love you.